Welcome back to the Locker Room, the sports show here on SPTV. I'm Chris Watkins, and joining me once again, Ben Zatuni, Joey Hipsch. Guys, how are you doing? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It went by way too fast, but I got that little taste of home and my mom's good home cooking, and now I can't wait to go back for Christmas.
Nothing wrong with that. What about you, Joey?
It was good, short, ready to finish off the semester strong.
Hey, same here. So, you guys ready to talk about some sports tonight?
Always.
Okay. Well, we'll be talking about Pointer sports, of course, the NFL, and the college football action from over the weekend. Joey will have the recap of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series final race of the season, and once again, we will have our new segment, What's Bothering You? Starting off, the women's basketball team for UWSP went 1-1 in their 2 games over Thanksgiving break to bring their record to 2-1. The Pointers beat Lakeland College 40-36 last Tuesday. The Pointers bench play was the key to their victory as they outscored the Muskies bench 23-16. Bree Richter, Lauren Ankelman, and Mickey Rowland all led the team with 7 points apiece. On Sunday, the Pointers suffered their first loss of the season to the 6th-ranked Tommies of St. Thomas. Autumn Hennis led the Pointers with 20 points scoring, and the Pointers will next play this Wednesday against Carthage College. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Guys, what has the start of the women's basketball season given you in terms of an outlook on the team?
I think one thing I've noticed is that they've kind of carried over their success from last season. With them having gone to the tournament last year, a big factor in that was their scoring. And one thing that I'm happy to see is Autumn Hennis coming back, showing almost no ill effects from that knee injury she suffered. And she's pretty much been the go-to scoring person for the team. And that's nice to see that they can have somebody that they can depend on to be their quote-unquote number one scoring option. They have other people that'll come in and score. Ankle and Barrett, the Rowland sisters, that can come off the bench, or each of them can have a starting role with the team, and they can put up some points for the Pointers. That's always good to see.
Yeah, definitely a strong start by Hennis. What about you, Joey?
Well, it shows that they're already building confidence, starting off from their success from last season, making the tournament, as Ben said, and they're on track to have another successful season and hopefully make the NCAA tournament for a second straight year.
Yeah, a plethora of scoring options. Hennis leading the way. You have Anklem, the Rollins sisters, like Ben said, that can contribute also. So we'll see how the women's season progresses. On the men's side, the Pointers basketball team beat Lawrence University on Saturday by a score of 69-50 to bring their record on the season to 2-2. Ethan Bublitz led the team with 19 points. Next, the Pointers play tonight at home against UW Superior with tip-off at 7 p.m. Guys, what can we expect from the Young Pointers team on the men's side?
Well, I think you can expect their season to play out the way their season started. They started off with a loss, I believe, so I think it'll be a mixture of ups and downs. They're still a fairly young team with a few experienced upperclassmen here and there, but mostly sophomores and freshmen, and it's going to take in some transfers. And it's going to take time for them to get acclimated to Coach Sunling's system, and I think it's just going to be a season of up and down, a season full of ups and downs.
Joey?
Yeah, I agree with Ben. This season they have a large roster, 19 players overall, and there's lots of depth, and Coach Sunling will depend on his seniors and Ethan Bublitz to lead and carry the team this year, so it might be an up and down season.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while for some chemistry to get, I guess, progressed from the beginning of this season. A lot of transfers, a lot of young players like the gentleman on each side of me have said. But Coach Semlin, depends on the seniors, and we'll see who steps up for the leaders for the Pointers this year. The men's hockey team has gone 1-3 in their past 4 games. The Pointers beat Marian University 6-3 on November 18th, but they lost to St. Norbert 5-3 on November 19th. And the Pointers then lost to Adrian this past Saturday 6-3, and finally lost to the U.S. U18 national team on Sunday 3-1. Guys, do the results of these past couple games worry you? Joey, we'll start with you.
Yes and no. They're competitive in all 4 of the games, and Adrian and St. Norbert and Marion are usually good every year. Adrian's always the big tough one for us, and the U.S. national team, they're on the team for a reason, right? So they're going to be really good.
Yeah, Ben?
No, not at all. I mean, if you guys think back and go back to last season, right around this time, after Thanksgiving, a little bit before Christmas break, they struggled. The team struggled, in the last, 3, 4, maybe 5 games in a row, and they came back, and everybody knows that they wound up winning the national championship. So right now, no, I'm not worried, but if we come back if we come back with the new semester in January and they're still losing and and they go on a little bit of a slide January, February, a little bit into March, then I'll be worried. But I know you don't always want to hear it, or this isn't something that the team wants to go through, and isn't something that Coach Brooks wants to happen. But it's better to be in a little bit of a rut early in the season than later in the season before conference tournament time and the national tournament time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing. Better get those losses out of the way in December, or November going into December, than March going into April. So pretty sure they'll get back in stride, and we'll see where the Pointers end up. Pretty sure it'll be a deep run to the tournament. Well, just getting started here. After a quick commercial break, we'll be back to recap this past weekend of college football, as well as the NFL, and talk a little bit of Badger basketball. Fourth one.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
All right, welcome back to the locker room. The Wisconsin Badgers are headed to the Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis, where they will play the Penn State Nittany Lions this Saturday at 7 p.m. The Badgers beat Minnesota this past Saturday in Madison by a score of 31-17. Wisconsin found themselves down by 7 at halftime, but their defense picked off 4 Mitch Leitner passes to the tune of, or to turn the tide of the game. Bart Houston was 9 of 14 passing for 123 yards, and Corey Clement finished his last game at Camp Randall with 26 carries for a tune of 106 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Guys, what impressed you about this game? Joey, we'll start with you.
Well, Bart Houston got it done after Alex Hornibrook went down with an injury, and the defense struggled for the first half, first 3 quarters, and then they really picked it up in the fourth to close out the game, especially with Jordan Shelton picking up 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter to seal the game for us. And the pass attack was important because Minnesota kind of held all of our running backs in check.
Yeah.
So the passing game had to step up.
Yep, got to find ways to win, especially at home. Ben, what about you?
I think this is going to be a little obvious, but those 4 interceptions, one by Leo Musso, who's having a great season, and then one late in the game by Leon Jacobs, and then those 2 by Soldier and Shelton, who's probably one of the best defensive backs Wisconsin's had in a while, and that's saying something with some of the defensive backs that have come out of Madison. But I think the resolve and the grit and determination that they were down by 7 at halftime, but you saw the shots of them on the sideline during the game. They weren't panicked. And then as soon as they came out after halftime, they were ready to go, and it showed. I mean, those 4 interceptions by the defense, that long, what was it, a 70-yard run on that jet sweep by Jazz Peavy. Those plays always work. I think the Badgers should mix a few of those into their regular offensive game plan. But I guess to break it down, what impressed me most about this game is the grit and the determination to come back and win in a blowout. Yeah,
a lot of poise, and you had a team in Minnesota looking to come in and play spoilers, so the Badgers held serve as a top 10 team, and like most top 10 teams do, they find a way to overcome adversity and get a W. Well, besides that, it was a very exciting weekend in college football. Ohio State beat Michigan in a double overtime thriller, 30-27. Alabama beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, 30-12. Washington beat Washington State, 45-17, and Clemson destroyed South Carolina, 56-7. Washington will play in Colorado in the Pac-12 championship, while Alabama goes up against Florida for the SEC title. Clemson faces off against Virginia Tech for the ACC crown. And out of all these games, including the Big Ten title game, which one are you guys looking forward to the most?
Obviously it's going to be the Big Ten championship for me, being the Badger fan that I am. But I'd say second, it's going to be Colorado and Washington. I think Alabama's going to wipe the floor with Florida, and I think Clemson's going to blow Virginia Tech out of the water. But I think the Badgers are going to show that they're worthy of the ranking that they have in the top 5 to, what are they, 6 now?
Yeah, 6.
And I think the Badger game's going to start off slow, and the Badgers are going to prove to be too much for Penn State, and the Badgers are going to wind up blowing them out. But as for that Colorado-Washington game, Colorado's a very underrated team. I think how many consecutive 10-loss seasons they've had, I think it might have even been 10 consecutive 10-loss seasons, and then they're in the midst of a 10-win season now. That Colorado team's been fun to watch. Washington's a good team. Jake Browning's very good. They have some skilled receivers that are going to make some names for themselves in the postseason of college football. And I think the secondary of Washington's okay, but I think that Washington-Colorado game is going to be a high-scoring shootout.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that one. Probably the game of the week. Joey, what about you?
I picked Clemson versus Virginia Tech because Clemson played in the national title game, so they should be able to win and get to the playoff and run the table. And they've won 25 of their last 27 games, so they should win this game no problem. And Clemson's ranked third in scoring in the regular season, so they should easily win, but you never can't underestimate an underdog.
Definitely. Clemson, the model of consistency, as Joey just alluded to. It's going to be a good one. I think Colorado-Washington is probably going to be the game of the week. Washington, like you said, Ben, is so underrated. I mean, Colorado, rather, is so underrated, and Washington looking for that signature win to perhaps propel them into that last playoff spot. So we'll see what happens.
I have a question for you guys. How do you think the college football playoffs going to shake out? Who's going to be the top 4 teams going?
Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson are all in. I think if Penn State wins, they're in. If Wisconsin wins, I think they'll get edged by Washington if they win. Pretty convoluted, I know, but I think if Washington wins, I think they'll get in.
Joey, what about you?
Well, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson are basically locks. It really depends if the Badgers or Penn State wins. I think one of them two might. I think Washington would jump over Penn State if Penn State wins, but I think the Badgers would get in if they win the Big Ten.
I think obviously those top 3 are a shoo-in basically, but I think the one way the Badgers do make it into the playoff is if they blow Penn State completely out of the water.
Yeah, I agree.
Putting up 30-some points in the first half. Their defense has a strong showing. I think that'll show the committee that the Badgers are worthy of playing in the playoff. I think that for some reason Washington's still going to get the nod because they've been putting up what seems like 35, 40 points all season, so I think that's good. The fact that Washington's offense is so explosive is going to give them the edge, but I think the Badgers are very deserving of being in the football playoff.
Yeah, a whole lot of deserving teams, that's for sure. So next we'll move on to the NFL, and the Green Bay Packers beat the Eagles last night 27-13 on the road. Aaron Rodgers had another stellar game as he finished 30 for 39 with 313 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Davante Adams had 5 catches for 113 yards and both of those touchdowns. Guys, what impressed you from the Packers offense last night? Ben?
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers having another good game. The Packers, they've lost. The Packers haven't won in 40 days. This morning was the first night that the Packer fans have woken up after Packer game that the Packers have actually won. It feels like forever since the Packers won. I'm glad they did, but Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have lost all those consecutive games, but Aaron Rodgers has been putting up 300-some yards and 2 to 3 touchdown passes each game, and he was able to dissect that Philly secondary last night. That's not saying much, but I think that second touchdown pass to Davante Adams, where he floated it in between I think it was Nolan Carroll and Davante, and somehow Adams caught that. That was great to see. Rodgers battled through an injury. We'll see how bad that is, but I think just the determination of Aaron Rodgers to go out there and show the world that the Packers are still in this.
Yeah. Joey?
Yeah, I agree with Ben. Aaron Rodgers was determined, and Mike McCarthy were determined not to let the season end with another loss and basically lose their season. But the offense actually started off fast this game compared to the other 4 games. So that was a very good sight to see. And Davante Adams is stepping up into what the Packers really wanted him to do over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. That coupled with the defense getting 4 sacks on a rookie quarterback, it's amazing what happens when number 12 gets some help. So good win from Green Bay.
You guys think going into the Philly game, Aaron Rodgers says he thinks the Packers can run the table and get into the playoffs. Do you think the Packers can, or are they done for the season?
They have a chance. Seattle looked terrible against Tampa Bay, so I think if Green Bay can generate some pressure, that's their biggest threat on the remaining slate.
What about you, Joey?
Yeah, that's the game that I really am concerned about, the Seattle, because they started off slow, Seattle, but then they really picked it up. But for some reason, they really struggle against Tampa Bay this weekend.
Yeah, man. A couple weeks ago on this show, I said that I thought the Packers were in the done club, and I'm still going to say that they're in the done club for the fact that the injuries on the offensive line, them not having Treader and them not having Lang, I think that's going to hurt the Packers against the front seven of Houston this weekend, and then the front seven of Seattle this next weekend.
Yeah.
So I think the injuries are going to be too much for the Packers to overcome.
Yep, one thing we all can agree on, there's a whole lot of football left to be played. On to college basketball now, the Wisconsin Badgers lost to North Carolina 71-56 in the championship of the Maui Gym tournament. Vito Brown led the Badgers with 15 points, and they beat Prairie View A&M yesterday in Madison by a score of 95-50. 6 different Badgers finished in double-digit scoring. Nigel Hayes led the way with 17 points. And next, the Badgers play Syracuse tonight at home as part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Guys, how do you see the next stretch of games shaking out for UW? Ben?
Man, I think it's going to be tough. They play Syracuse tonight, and then I think either the end of next week or sometime next week they play Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is always a sneaky good team. Granted, they do play Syracuse and Oklahoma at home, which gives the Badgers an edge. Playing in the Kohl Center always provides a boost for the Badgers, but I don't know. This is going to be a tough stretch of games. This stretch around Christmas, right before conference play time, that's always a tough stretch. And if the Badgers want to go to the Final Four and have it a Final Four or bust season, they're going to have to win the games and show the nation that they're worthy of sticking, or that they can stick with these upper echelon of teams.
Yeah, no doubt. Joey?
Yeah, Syracuse is going to be a tough matchup tonight because their starting five ranges from 6'5" to 6'9", and our starting five is nowhere near that. So they got size over us, but you never know. We might get a sneaky win against them. Oklahoma is usually good. However, they lost Buddy Hield to the NBA draft this last year, so who knows?
Yeah, you mentioned that lengthy Syracuse zone with guys like Michael Carter-Williams in the past, but Wisconsin also beat Syracuse last year, so maybe they can keep that streak going. Well, after a commercial break, we'll be back with Joey's NASCAR recap segment and also What's Bothering You.
How can you get involved with student media at UWSP? Connecting with your campus television station, SBTV, is easy. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Vine, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Pinterest, follow us on Instagram, or connect with us on Google+. But of course, the best way for you to get involved and stay up to date with all that is happening at our station is to stop by our studio. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at UWSP, Studio B, Room 121. You can also drop by our office, Room 130, for more information on station happenings. We can't wait to get you involved. Come join us at SPTV. Let's make media together.
I know.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SPTV news crew. Being an on and off air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
Welcome back to the locker room. On November 20th, Jimmie Johnson made NASCAR history by capturing his record-tying 7th championship at Homestead Miami Speedway, where he now joins NASCAR legends Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt as the only 3 drivers who have won 7 championships. Johnson won the race despite leading only 3 laps and starting 40th because of unapproved body modifications to his car pre-race. The championship 4 of Jimmie Johnson, Joey Logano, Carl Edwards, and Kyle Busch all ran within the top 6 for the majority of the race. Carl Edwards had the best car out of the championship 4 for the entire weekend and for the race, and was in position to win his first championship with 10 laps to go in the race. On the restart with 10 laps to go, Joey Logano dove to the inside of Carl Edwards to try to pass him for position and for the championship, while Edwards tried to block him. Then Logano hooked Edwards in his left rear quarter panel and turned him into the inside wall. The crash let Jimmie Johnson and Kyle Busch take over the championship lead. On the final restart, Jimmie Johnson had the restart of his life to clear Kyle Larson and Joey Logano for the race lead and went on to win the race, which happened to be his 80th career win. Since Jimmie Johnson won his 7th championship this year, do you guys think he can break the tie with Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt and get his 8th championship next season?
Obviously, I mean, come on. NASCAR is one of the most fixed sports in the world. No, I'm just kidding. For the record, there's no way you could possibly fix NASCAR. But yeah, I think he will, because Jimmie Johnson's shown that he's the clear-cut best driver in NASCAR, and he's probably the best driver of all three of our generations. So yeah, no doubt he'll get his 8th.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just a model of consistency, like we've been saying with other teams throughout the show so far. I mean, that's just impressive what he's been able to do. And then to have like a little lull after his championship runs and to come back and reestablish that, I guess, that showing of just world-class driving, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, in 06 to 010 or 2010, he won 5 straight.
Yeah.
So he was on top, but then he dropped for 2 years and then came back in 2013, got his 6th. So it's like every 2 years he falls by the wayside to the other competitors, but then he comes back strong the next year and wins his championship. So I think it'll come either next year or within the next 3 seasons, because it's very competitive nowadays with Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, all the top drivers now. It's really competitive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just impressive, very impressive.
The 2017 NASCAR Cup Series season kicks off with the 59th running of the Daytona 500 on February 26th.
All right, guys, now it's time for What's Bothering You. Joey, we'll start with you today.
Well, going off what we just talked of, the NASCAR season's over, so...
Ooh, I'm shocked. Joey's upset about no more NASCAR.
Well, it is a 10-month season, so I get spoiled, but 2 months is a little too long for a break, but I'll get over it, so...
Ben, what about you?
Well, you guys saw over the weekend that Tom Herman, the coach of the University of Houston football team, decided to take the head coaching job at Texas after Charlie Strong was fired. Herman was a grad assistant at Texas, and it was no shock to me that he decided to go back. But what's bothering me is that Herman was a very well-liked coach at Houston, and part of the reason why Houston's been so good the past couple of years is because he's been able to get recruits to go there. And one of the reasons recruits go to college is because they like the coach.
Right.
Now, recruits went to Houston to play for Herman. Herman's now going to Texas. If those players that committed to Houston because they loved Herman want to go to the Texas, they have to sit out a season. I think that's ridiculous. If coaches can leave early in the middle of their contract to go to another school, then players should be able to transfer without having to sit out a year. I think the NCAA needs to fix that.
I definitely agree. What's bothering me? A couple things, both related to the Carolina Panthers. Number one, where has Riverboat Ron gone? I mean, 4th quarter, tie game, 4th and 1 at the 40-yard line. He elects to punt it to the quarterback, and an MVP candidate in Derek Carr, who's had the best 4th quarter quarterback rating. And what happens? You get beat. Also, Mike Shula, offensive coordinator, at least in title, because I really don't see it in week out. A screen at the 6-yard line against Khalil Mack, who, might I add, after you just got beat by Von Miller in the Super Bowl, you leave him one-on-one against third-string tackles, third-string centers. You just put your center on the IR and Ryan Khalil, which signifies that your season is over. That's bothering me. That's bothering me. If you can't
Good
tell.
start.
Maybe things will get right in September next year. On that note, that's all we have for you guys today. I'd like to thank Ben and Joey for joining me today here at the desk, and a big thank you to all of our technical staff, their hard work to make sure all of this is possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all of your Pointer athletic information. Until next week, good night from the locker room.